Okay, I think we started. I forgot to ask you this. Do you prefer Jess or Jessica?
Either one.
Okay. Anyways, I'll give you a quick introduction. Everybody, this is my friend Jessica. We met through Instagram, which is some things we'll talk about. And she does a really great job advertising herself, or marketing herself would be a better way to say it, on Instagram. And what's even cooler is I remember you had maybe around 10,000-ish followers, and now you're at what, 23.5?
Yep, something like that.
Yeah, it's really cool. So to get started, let's kind of learn a little bit about you. Where are you from, and how did you get started in massage therapy?
I'm from Northern California, and I live in San Diego right now. So same state, but completely different vibes. But I've been in San Diego for 11 years. And then I finished up school at San Diego State. I got my degree in kinesiology, was going to go on to PT school. Well, was going to go on to it in my head. I didn't really take any action. And then I was like, do I really want to dedicate that much time? Like, I see a lot of physical therapists kind of just getting bored and like not really like doing the hands-on work. And then my brother-in-law told me about Rolfing, and there was a school in San Diego that offered it. So I went to massage school, and then now I've been certified for the past 4 years. And yeah, and now I kind of do a blend of things. I don't really do technically structural integration.
Did you get into Rolfing? Did you start there?
So technically, to be called a Rolfer, you have to go to the institute in Denver, but I got trained under Ed Mopin, who worked with Ida Rolf. Okay. So he taught us exactly how she taught, but then they changed the name. So she actually named it structural integration, and then they ended up changing it back to Rolfing. So anyway, so I didn't end up taking the board test because my school went out of business the semester I finished. And there were a few like two more, like a somatic class and like something else that I would have had to take. And my mentor at the time was just like, you don't need to be really like, don't focus on that, just start working. And then, so I never really went back to get technically certified, but I don't actually do the full 10 series, like most structural integration. So I don't even call myself a structural integrator because I don't do traditional work like that. And I think people can get offended.
Well, sorry, go ahead. It's so interesting because I think the things that we all struggle with as a therapist, even just using the word like the times I've wasted going manual therapist, soft tissue therapy, neuromuscular therapy, manual therapy. It's like, how do you pick? Because, if you say massage, I feel like people have this interpretation that there's gonna be kneading, there's gonna be a lot of hand movement. And so it's such a delicate thing to navigate because people's perception of what is massage therapy.
It was really hard for me at first too, going from getting my degree and taking like a really intense anatomy course with like a cadaver and all this stuff to going to massage school where like a lot of people were like stumbling in, they're 18, they're like, I don't know, whatever. And I was like, I feel like I'm taking a step back here, but I was like, if I just continue and kind of do my own thing with it. So for a long time, I refused to call myself a massage therapist. And now I'm just like, I'm a massage therapist at the end of the day. Like I do my own thing and I'm more comfortable with just saying that. But it's funny, like if I'm out with my friends and somebody asks what I do and I say massage therapy, they're like, well, no, she does something different though. Like they'll explain it for me. And I'm like, I don't care what you call me anymore, but it is hard and that's why Instagram's so good for me because it shows people like, yes, I am technically a massage therapist, but this is the type of deep work we're going to do. And it still is massage because I like still use cream and stuff like that. Like mine isn't as like, you're definitely more manual therapy, I feel like, and whatever. So,
well, what's something I've thought a lot about is I don't use the word massage therapy a lot. And I've thought about this as something I should probably do more of because I don't know how we're gonna, I think about people who are getting into this career, right? To where I find there's a certain personality this fits with people who are kind of fiercely independent. They want to work in their own hours. It's really, you can work really, really hard, or you can kind of shape into a lifestyle. Like for me, like right now in my career, I'm pretty lifestyle oriented, meaning like I'm going to do jujitsu. I'm going to spend time with my kids, and I don't have to check in with somebody to do this. So I thought about realized I need to own massage therapy more, because how are people getting into this industry going to know if everybody's embarrassed or ashamed to use the word massage therapy? How are we going to move forward ahead as massage therapists?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I do feel like we all need to band together a little bit more, even with like pricing and stuff. Like when so many people, I'll see a lot of new therapists just super undercharging. And I'm like, if we all raise it, then I mean, the massage envies and like the little sketchy spas are always going to be cheap, but people should start to understand that that's different. And they do. But yeah.
Well, I don't think people realize, like, when you charge more, I think about the amount of money I've invested in this career between, like if I live in Iowa, so when I go to a course, I have to pay for its hotel. I mean, it's a $4,000 weekend by the time it's said and done. It's like, but you do that multiple times. That is way different than somebody just who has a sequence memorized and they just push lotion through.
Exactly.
And that's where I think is a real separation. And I think people want, like, people who burn out, I find they're doing the sequence and they want to do work that speaks to them. It's almost like, I feel like every therapist has their own signature. Just like if I was to sign an autograph, it's my autograph. Yours is yours. And I think that's one thing people want to do. When you don't do work that's yours, it does suck.
It does. Yeah. The best advice I got from one of my teachers was, he's like, don't put every modality on the back of your business card. Choose what you like or what you're good at. Like, what do you want to focus on? He's like, become the best at that. Don't try to be everything. Like, don't try to master prenatal massage and then cupping and then Swedish and like, he's like, people, you think right when you graduate that you have to offer everything because you just want so many clients. But I started gaining the type of clients I wanted when I would get, somebody would reach out like, oh, do you do prenatal? And I'd be like, no, but my friend does, and send them that way. Like, then they trust me too, because they're like, okay, she's not just, I'll go to her after I have my baby and know that, there's enough to go around. And I think that's what a lot of massage therapists don't realize is like, especially somewhere like San Diego, there's plenty of people. There's plenty of people to go around. So I would rather specialize in something,
Well, otherwise you're kind of a walk-in generality, right? Like, it's hard to justify.
Like, not good.
Yeah. It's hard to justify price increasing if you're just kind of general, like walking general. So here's some things. What was life like as a therapist before you really dug into like, how long have you been really digging into Instagram for? And what was massage therapy for you like before you really dug in?
So I kind of drug my feet on like getting a job after I got certified. I got certified at the beginning of 2017, and I didn't end up working until the end. I was working at a restaurant and I would just work on my friends on the side, but I didn't get a job. And then I started working for a chiropractor in March of 2018, and I had created my Instagram in January, but I didn't really create, like, I posted once in January and once in February. Like, I didn't know there was this whole community. The only person I followed is Manny Kava.
Really good
when
stuff.
I had a personal page, and I was like, oh, cool. He does structural integration. Like, he's the only person. I never even tried to find anybody else. So I didn't know that there was this huge community. And me and my friend from massage school, we became like best friends, and we would meet up and start working on each other. And then she would just like take a video of like cups on my back or something. And then we would start posting it. And then I was like, I don't really want to post it for my friends and family. Like, I don't know, like, I don't want it to like overwhelm. So she had made an account first, and she's like, you need to make one. And I changed my Instagram name like 20 times. And it shows, if you look at somebody's page, it'll show you how many times they changed their name. It was like,
really?
Yeah, it was like Jess Muscle Therapy, JC Muscle Therapy, because I didn't want massage. I didn't want that word.
That's hilarious.
And then like growing up, my friends called me J Kurt because my name's Jessica Curtis. And so then I was like, J Kurt Bodywork, it kind of rhymes. And so then, I'd say it took summer of 2018, I started posting a little bit more. And then I probably got like my first client from it, like fall. Like, so it took a few months because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a goal. I didn't know who I was marketing to. But my very first post was a video and it did okay. Like I was like, oh, people like this. And then I think I got a client from it and I was like, oh. And so then so it was a very slow process. I didn't make it with any goal in mind. So
Was it
helped a lot.
was it, coming out of school and then putting yourself out there on the internet, was that difficult to do or no?
Not for me. I was a little nervous at first because structural integration is so different. And I see people getting very like, even if somebody hashtags Graston and it's not Graston, they got some other scraping, people get so mad, like that's not actually Graston. And like, even with structural, because I was hashtagging structural and I was doing moves that I learned in structural, like a sideline QL release, or like I never learned about the psoas in massage classes or the iliacus or even the adductors. Like it was very prone or supine, like structural taught me the whole sideline thing. So I was doing moves from it, but I wasn't following the 10 series. And so I like was a little nervous that those types of people would freak out on me.
Yeah.
And I got some here and there, but everyone's been pretty nice. And I guess I don't know. I'm not that.
Do you get, because
nervous.
as you've grown your Instagram, do you get negative feedback and comments?
So I just got one. I think I'm going to make a post about it actually. I really don't that often. People are really nice, like overwhelmingly. Like once, so I'd say like middle to the end of 2018 when I started posting like 3 or 4 times a week and getting a lot of other massage therapists, then I was like, oh, this is fun because I'm connecting with all these people. That's when it started becoming fun because I was like, okay, I'll start just posting my technique that'll attract clients, but I'm also becoming friends with all these other people. So that was fun. But one time, like back in 2018, this girl commented on my thing and was like, this looks weird. That's all she said. And my followers went and like attacked her. Like, what's weird about this? She's doing, and I was like, you guys, it's okay. But I honestly really don't get that many mean ones. But recently I did this stupid little the answer a question thing where you're like,
Yeah, I saw
it's like
that.
it's so silly. It's dumb, but like you got to hop on the trend. And this girl reposted it. So I got a notification. And
Right.
like, does anyone else get annoyed when grown adults do these stupid TikTok dances and answer questions that nobody asked? I just want to push her over. I was like,
Dang. Wake up and drink your haterade.
I responded, I was like, you could just unfollow me, right? And then
Right.
I was like, it's kind of rude to hate on somebody for building their business. I was like, but hey, thanks for reposting and bringing more attention to my account.
Well, that's the thing, is like, is
Like
it
even
really,
negative, like
how much followers did you get off that? Did you get anything off of it?
probably not because her page was whack. I was
Was
like,
it?
I was about to be like, hey, listen, girl, you should start doing these stupid dances, honestly, and stop posting your freaking stupid quotes. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, so where do you think of somebody's a massage therapist? Because a lot of times when we talk about social media, I'm just fascinated by social media. I'm not great at it, but like I'm really fascinated by the idea of it. What are some of the things that, like, what I find to be really intimidating? I'm thinking when I start, it's like, what's the real rub here? Is it consistency? Is it, because I can obsess and buy too much just shit, lighting and everything. Like, how do you know like where to start and like what's really crucial?
It's so hard to say because I started in my living room with stained carpet. That looks terrible. And those videos did okay. It's weird. Like, I don't know why, but for some reason, like now, if I try to use a hashtag, it doesn't really work. Like on Reels, hashtags don't work. But back when I first started, hashtags were big for me. I think maybe because my account was so small. And and then I just started noticing that the videos did better. So that was all I really focused on. And I didn't know anything about lighting, but visually appealing is definitely a factor. Lighting is the biggest thing. I think it doesn't matter if it's perfect quality, but I do think that the videos that are a little bit brighter do better. But I think I think consistency, but in the way of consistently posting your same type of stuff. It doesn't have to be, because I didn't post anything today and I don't care at all. Like I'll go 3 or 4 days without posting. I don't care. But when I come back, I think quality is the best thing.
Yeah. And that's one thing that you've shared that I really liked is when you like repost some of the old ones. If you look at what you're doing now, like you can tell you definitely have it like turnkey, like your lighting, even
Yeah.
like the colors you use in your stories, it's very
Yeah.
thematically like good. But when you like, I can't remember how long ago it was, you posted an old one and it's like, holy crap, you can really see the growth of like just getting started, like just get
Yeah.
started somewhere
You just
and
have
then start to refine and through it. Yeah. Cause otherwise, how do you refine if you don't even get started with it?
Yeah. Like I look back at some of my editing too, and I'm like, but I'm probably going to look back on in 2 years at these videos and be like, oh, you know?
Yeah. How much clientele do you think you get off social media?
Like 85%, all of them.
Dang.
Yeah. And then the other 15% is, oh, my friend found you on Instagram and she told me about you, kind of thing. So
Gotcha.
it is a little bit of word of mouth. I am friends with a handful of personal trainers here. So that does help, but they found me on Instagram. So it's like, it doesn't feel like it at this point. Like my trainer, he just feels like my friend and he sends me people, but technically we did meet on Instagram. So, or even like this, like,
yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah. And like my Patreon, like I never thought that that would be a thing. So when I try to so I started having consulting calls with other massage therapists to try to help them. And it's just like, I feel so bad because people are just so in their head and they think that their videos have to be like mine or like yours and it's like, if you scroll back to my first ones, like just start, you know?
Yeah. When you do the calls with other therapists, what are some of their main questions or like what's the main thing they ask you when it comes to Instagram?
The biggest is just like, what do I post? Which is a hard question to answer because I'm like, I don't know. What do you want? Like, what are you trying to do? Because that's my very first thing is, what is your goal? I didn't have a goal. I just knew that I wanted to post it. I didn't want it on my personal account. So that was I didn't have a goal. But then once I got a client off of it, that became my goal. So I think if people can start with knowing what their goal is your goal to get more clients? Because some people are like, I just want more followers. And when I'm like, why? They're like, oh, I don't know. And then I'm like, okay, we'll sit with that first and figure that out because otherwise it's going to be hard. Like, who are you posting for? Who are you trying to talk to? You know, but I just try to tell them to like, just everybody's just like overthinks it, which I'm a huge overthinker too. But when I first started, I didn't care because I had like 5 followers. Like, you know, it just evolved to this.
How wild is it from getting like 5 followers, and then one day you wake up and then you're getting them in like hundreds? Like, what's that transition
exciting.
like?
So at first I was kind of obsessed, actually. I would like go and like 100 hashtag like posts with hashtags massage therapy or whatever. And then all of a sudden I would get this huge influx. And so I did that until I got to like 1,000. And then once I got to 1,000, I was like, okay, my page looks actually real now. I don't care. You know, so I kind of stayed off of doing that. And I never did like the follow for follow or like, I was really picky on who I would follow back. Cause I'm like, I don't want to get overwhelmed too. Like, I don't want to just see all these vague posts. But it was definitely fun. And I was like, oh my God, like I would wake up to like 100 new followers. And now I'm blocking people all the time. Like now I used to just want all the followers. And now I'm realizing like, no, you want quality followers. You don't want these spam accounts. You don't want these weirdos.
Thoughts. That's more my question I want to ask you, because honestly, in massage therapy, me being a male in it, and also like, I'm not like super tiny either. Like, I'm not big, but I'm not, I never have any issues. Nobody's gonna really, except if I ever post feet stuff, I always get foot fetish stuff every time. Actually, this is kind of funny. One guy just asked me what, like, hey, what shoe size? And I was just triggered. He was like, hey, what size of shoes is that? And I was like, fuck you. It was like, I just snapped on him. And he probably didn't deserve it, but I just had posted a video and people are, like just asking whack questions. So you get, I'm sure, some of the creepiest stuff, but you flip it and make it really like, because this, I mean, it's funny because you can have fun with it, but it also is kind of scary a little bit.
And that's where I have to be careful, is I try not to take things too seriously. And there was only one time I was actually scared that one of these weird DMs, because then he was FaceTiming me and I answered it. He was just naked.
That's with face or no face.
I went, ew. No, just down there. Yeah. And
that's not what you want to hear either. You don't want to hear ew.
I would have never normally answered a FaceTime, I don't know, but I had noticed that I got a missed FaceTime a few times from this number. And I get so I use my personal number. That's probably one of the flaws in it. But at the same time, I'm like, they're just going to call the other number and do the same thing. Right. So whatever. But I had gotten, over the few weeks, I had gotten a missed FaceTime call from that number and a text that just said hi. And I'm like, I'm not going to write that back. But I just get so many random numbers. I don't save half of my clients' numbers. So I'm just always getting, numbers. And then so one day I finally answered it, and I texted the number and I was like, don't you ever fucking message me again. Like, I went off on him, and he's like, well, I'm still going to come in for my massage this week. And I was like, no, you're not. And I know every single one of my clients this week, they were all familiar clients. So I knew he was lying, but I was like, I did get a little nervous with that.
Hell yeah.
But then instead of being scared, I just posted it on my story with his phone number, and a ton of people went and like prank called him. They were sending him pictures and like doing all this stuff. And my friend's a cop, and he was like, maybe he shouldn't have posted his number. And I was like, no, F him. Like, and he's like, well, and he made me file like a police report just in case. Cause he's like, I don't think this guy's in San Diego, but you never know. Like, right. So it's hard because I get so many messages from these girls, and they're like, this is why I don't want to put myself out there, because of these creeps. And I'm like, yeah, I've never been actually scared besides that time. And even then I wasn't scared, because I knew, like, even within my intake form, I can tell immediately if they're weird. And I think that's the beauty of posting on Instagram and getting people, because I don't get weirdos in person. I get weird DMs all the time, but none of my clients ever in person have ever been weird. And I work on a lot of young, attractive, fit guys, and nobody's ever been weird. And I think it's because they see my Instagram and they see it's professional. And right when they come in, we're like, what's going on with your body? I'm not like flirting or anything like that. So a lot of these girls, they're like, I don't want to attract that. And I'm like, I think it's helped my case, but I don't know. Some other people don't have the same results.
Well, it's interesting because I think guys who solicit that, they get away with it because they can kind of hide it in the shadows. If you have a big following, that like, hey, she might put me on blast.
Yeah.
I don't like, and these people have like, outside of this, they have jobs and family. Like, some of them have like their dads or something. It's like, they really don't want that smoke. So I think sometimes even just putting it out there of like, even that, like, one dude as like a warning, being like, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you do this, I think it makes people think twice.
I was weird about sharing it at first. Like, when I got a few of those creepy messages, I was like, I don't want to post that because that's just awkward. And then I finally was like, no, we need to address this. And we need to we need to humiliate those ones that are being gross, because,
100%.
And maybe because even like in that little questions thing, that whatever, my first question was, do you give happy endings? I honestly don't get DM'd that. That's definitely, I get asked what kind of sheets I use and what I use to edit my videos far more often, but I wanted to add that in there just in case anybody's wondering.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I think which has come with the rise of kind of your Instagram success is you get these fake profiles of you that do it's your face. Let's talk about this because it's your face. Yeah. But then it's like soliciting of giving like happy endings and stuff. And they create multiples, right?
Oh, there's so many now. And they're on like dating apps. And but that is maybe one thing, actually, you just reminded me, I should add this into my course, is to tell people, because people come to me now and they're like, oh, you should start watermarking your videos. I'm like, I have 500 other ones that they could steal. Yeah. Like, at this point, if I started they can't use my new ones, or I've seen people watermark their stuff and they'll just put their own watermark over it. Like they don't care. They have all my stuff downloaded. So now my personal account is private because they took a bunch of pictures of like me and my grandma and my mom. And I'm like, that's just weird. And the first time I saw this, I was very pissed, but now I'm just like, I feel like I should do more about it. I honestly don't even try to get them taken down anymore because it's more work on my part. But that's, yeah, it's hard. I need to add a part into my course actually about that, to maybe that if they're just starting out, then they can start with watermarking like from the beginning. But I never even thought about that. So
we'll talk about this then. So this is also interesting. So tell me about the course that you're currently working on, because I think it's really interesting.
So I'm creating a course specifically to massage therapists on how to market yourself specifically on Instagram to get more clients. So it's very specific. It's not for everybody. I might be able to expand it to like wellness practitioners, but for now, I just wanted to focus specifically on massage therapists. So we go over everything from the start, like if you very first start out, what do you need to think about? Like, what are your goals? Who's your ideal follower? Who's your ideal client? Who do you want to attract more of? And then I go on to like how to figure out what types of posts they would like to see and how to put yourself in their shoes. And then to start creating posts from that. And then I even go through the basics of like, should you have a business account, a personal account? How do you view your insights? Like, how do you use your story to get more views and to bring more so it's basically A to Z of what you need to know when you're just starting out on Instagram.
Yeah, and that's one thing, the older I get, I'm realizing is paying for courses or something, the amount of time I save than just like if I try to just figure out Instagram on my own, the amount of time at this point I'm going to put into it could be better utilized somewhere else right now, right? Because it's just so much, it's a lot of trial and error, I'm sure, right? You have to have a lot of failure points to figure out what, like, it's a lot of testing, like what works, what doesn't work, how does algorithm change? Like there's a lot of stuff that I think you've already done that to just be able to download it and go, okay, I got it. Are you going to do it like, a, it's gonna be like a monthly subscriber? Is it gonna be like you buy it once? How's it going to work?
So it's going to be a one-time thing. I'll probably keep like lifetime access. I'm still deciding that. So it's going to be basically, I'm creating it in Canva, and you can create basically like a PowerPoint, like slideshow. And then you can, I'll be like a little talking figure in the corner, just talking through it. I have like some screenshots from my page and like what they need to look at. So it'll be like a video course. And they can just go at their own pace. And then I am thinking of making a membership specifically for people who have completed that, and maybe doing like a Facebook group or something, because I think half of it is just staying within the community, and like people don't need me. They just need to talk to each other too. So I kind of want to remove, like, I still want to be a part of it, but I really want other massage therapists to all be able to communicate with each other. And if they're all starting out, like going and supporting each other too. Like sometimes I'm like, if you get a new massage therapist that follows you and you like their stuff, like go follow them back and talk to them, like not being fake. Cause there's a lot of these things that are like, go comment on 50 posts before you, like, no, like, unless you actually like it and connect with that person, like I want it to be real. So the course will be video. I'm thinking, I'm getting a little bit of like the imposter syndrome. Like, is this even going to help? But you make a good point, is even if I can save people 3 years worth of what I've learned, it still is going to be trial and error, because what works for me might not work for somebody that's trying to attract super zen, like spa clients. Like they might have to try something different. So a lot of it is trial and error. But even if I could just save people time on like, oh my gosh, I spent hours on YouTube, like, how many hashtags do you use? How do you do this to your story? How do you change the color in the background? Like, just like everything. So if I can save people time and just kind of get them focused from the beginning, I think it'll really help people.
Well, here's something I haven't really talked about because I kind of been keeping on a little bit on the DL a little bit, and why you've come to my mind of like I gotta figure out what she's doing, because there's a few times you'll post a tip, like you gave one about like, hey, this is one thing I was doing a lot of because I was just being lazy. I would just it was a still frame of me working on somebody, no video, right? So I'd take the video and just like screenshot it and use that. And you made a point of like, hey, actually show the work. Like people are just doing too much stills, maybe do some video, and doing those videos. So then I was like, all right, let me try this out. I did some video, and I've like now this year, like I've actually done like some travel work outside of, because that's one thing I've always been passionate about was, when I used to live in Atlanta, did some more travel work for athletes. Like that was what I enjoyed doing. But then I moved to Iowa once we had children. Iowa's a lot of cornfields. Let's be honest, there's not professional sports here. Yeah. So to be able to jump back into that, and again, the connections I've made with professional athletes at this point, it's not, sometimes it's from Atlanta, but a lot of times it's people on Instagram, and they're like, hey man, I saw this and this work. And so I have like a few guys I just now I've started to talk to and done some work with, and it's like, and it was all Instagram. And if you and a lot of the points, yeah, and you're the main one I go to. Like if I'm like, what do I do? I kind of go to your stuff and go, okay, I need to figure this out a little bit.
That makes me so happy because I really look up to you in your work. And I think a lot of people get too caught up in Instagram. So people come to me thinking I know everything. And I'm like, I know about Instagram, but go to this, they're better at body work. I'm sure they have way more experience. Like I'm willing to be I still think of myself as like, I mean, I'm under 5 years of like, I still feel like a baby with it. And so that's really awesome to hear that could help. And like professional athletes, the fact that I've had a few reach out to me and I go to my DMs and I see this blue check mark and I'm like, who's this? What? Like people with 1 million followers, and they're reaching out to you on Instagram. Like people are very open now. People find I found my new hairstylist on there, found my microblading girl on there. Like I find everything on there. Yeah. I think once you accept that and realize that, you're like, okay, I need to put myself out there.
And that's one thing, it's funny. It's like, this is the first time we've ever talked like over camera, kind of in person, not in person. But before we even started, how you are on your Instagram is how you are in real life. So you're not having to create a persona. I think that's where it gets stressful, is if I had to create this like online persona, it's just freaking taxing. It makes me not want to do it. Then you feel really kind of odd. Yeah. But like you do a fantastic job of what you are there is kind of the same. You just add a few thematic things that keep it, like just the work very like consistent.
Yeah, that makes me really happy. And I think that's why, like, even just talking to you right away, it felt like I knew you because you act the same and talk the same too. And that's what I'm trying to emphasize with my course is like, do what you want to attract more of, but also just do what you're good at. If you're not good at talking in camera and you don't like it, you don't have to. You don't even have to show your face. Like when people come to me and they're like, I'm camera shy. I'm like, will you still be camera shy if you don't have to talk? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, why? Like, so it is hard for me because I'm like, who cares? Like, it's just there. You just press it and do your work. And I've wasted tons of videos because I didn't know my angles and whatever, but I was still learning. And so that's the thing too, is definitely being yourself. But that is what scares me a little bit, is like, I can tell people from A to Z what I did, but maybe my personality has something to do with it. Or maybe the way I talk, like some people can like certain things. So that's where it kind of scares me a little bit, like if I can actually get people results, but I really think I can. I think
I take your advice all the time. Like the things that I used to do that I don't do as much after kind of just watching your stuff is I would do it. Like my work is pretty slow, but if you're watching it, it's almost look like you're doing a still. So I would talk over it like I'm teaching it. And it just kind of didn't land. So I was like, let me try what Jess does. So what I did was I sped up the video, threw some music on top, splashed some music on top of it, and anything I wanted to say, I just wrote. So if you're interested, it's right there. So even just keeping that like eyeball kind of like in action, of just that little adjustment that I grabbed from you, it has made a huge difference on the like that when I look at the analytics side of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're smashing it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So do you have a website ready for yet?
So I have like a little link for people to sign up for the course. So my website, there's not a link. Like you mean for my course?
Yeah. Well, what's the best way for people to keep up with you, but also to keep up with this course?
I mean, my Instagram, I'm always announcing everything. So just jkurt_bodywork.
Okay.
And then on there, if you click the link, it'll say sign up to be notified for my course.
Oh, in the link tree?
Yeah. So that'll be, I was trying to have it out before Thanksgiving, but I'm just such a perfectionist and I feel like I've been talking about it. Yeah. So that second.
Where's my camera? Yeah. How important, oops, I clicked on something. That's another thing that you've done really good that I don't think people think about is once COVID hit, I realized all my income completely stopped because I make 100% of my money touching clients. And here, when I look at you, you have book a session, you got your course, you have like the Patreon, I think, which you're switching over, but you have Patreon, you have like you have promo code links. Like, how crucial is that in the times of COVID where, like we all got treated differently with COVID depending on what state you lived in? How important was that, like multiple sources of income in that time frame?
So I'd never thought about it prior to COVID. I was like, I remember working on a client and he was like, you can't keep trading your time for dollars. And I was like, I work on people. What do you want me to do?
Right.
And I had thought about it because I would start getting a lot of people reaching out like, hey, I have lower back pain, but I live in freaking New York. Like, do you have any advice? And I'm like, no, I don't know. Like, I was like, this could be something. Like, I saw people doing like Skype, like stretching, like mobility sessions, but I was like, that's not really my thing. And so that's when Patreon was born, April of 20. I'd been thinking about it. I'd been really thinking about it, but I didn't have any urgency. So then I'm just somebody like who needs to be working on something. And so I went back home to stay with my family for 8 months during the pandemic.
Wow. You went back up north?
Yeah. And I thought I was going to be there for 2 weeks. And then I just didn't come back till November. And I started my Patreon. My first month, I made $150 on it. The second month, I made like 300. The third month, so I actually just calculated how much I made. And I was like, from the beginning, I think it was like 16,000 or something, which obviously isn't enough to like live off of, but
from just the Patreon and the links.
So just since April of 2021 to now was.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So it got to a point where it was getting like, I think my highest amount was 240 members, but I'm only charging $8 a month. Yeah. So it did get up to like 1 month, I think I made like 2,000 off of it. And I was like, oh shit. And so that's kind of opened my eyes.
That's almost, like, what is that? That's like 20, that's like between 15 to 20 sessions.
Yeah.
Right. That's so huge. I'm like,
that's like cutting out a week's worth of work if I wanted to, Yeah. And so that's where that kind of came in. And I was like, dude, people want information, and massage therapists are just so busy because to make a lot of money, you have to be in person all the time. So if you're willing to cut out some of those hours, and I'm not married, I don't have kids. So I do have a lot of time to spend on it, but I really don't. Like, my friends are surprised sometimes. Like, I'm not on my phone constantly. Like, if I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm not. Like, I put my phone down. I won't post for a few days. Like, I'm not that obsessed with it as people might think. But I do tell people when they are married with kids, I'm like, you might not have as much time, and that's fine. You might have to plan a little bit more. I don't plan. Like, I don't know what I'm going to post tomorrow, but I'll go look at my phone right now and be like, oh, I have this video. And, so I think no matter how busy you are, you can make it Instagram work as long as you're organized enough and you're willing to, put in a few hours a week. It doesn't take a lot, but I think as long as you're willing to do a little bit.
So that's really refreshing, because that's an excuse that I've used for a while of like, maybe I have a week where I don't have any clients that I feel really comfortable filming. And so I just say, I'm like, I just forget it. And then I'm like, forget this whole thing. This is dumb. Why am I even wasting time? So know that you're not like strategically planning out, like Tuesdays are days where we post about hip stuff, and Thursdays we post about shoulder stuff. It's nice. It's refreshing to know that you don't think like that deeply about it.
And that's why creating this course is a little hard, because I'm like, literally, like, if you don't feel like posting, don't post. Don't force it, because you're going to end up hating it, and you don't want to hate it. I hear so many people, I hate Instagram stupid. I'm like, delete it then. Especially if it's your personal account and you don't need it, freaking delete it. If it's causing you that much anxiety, that's not good. And that's what I tell people too, even within my course, like, you don't need Instagram. People had successful massage businesses and all kinds of businesses before Instagram was around. It's just supposed to help you. And yes, I've gotten almost all my clients off of it. But if Instagram died tomorrow, all those clients are still coming to me. Like, it wasn't a waste of time, you know?
Right.
So, but that's the hard thing, is like, I'm not as strategic as people think I am. Like, how many times, how do you figure out what to post? When do you, and I'm like, I don't think that hard about it, you know?
Hey, I have another question for you. What do you think about carousels?
I think those do really well. I think if
Yeah,
you have like a long video, or if say you want to start posting real time,
yeah,
um, you could totally post a like 5 minute real time session and just cut it up a little bit so people can just remember, people are bored.
I didn't think about that. I've been
Yeah.
thinking of carousels in a printed fashion. I didn't even think
Oh,
about it from a
you could do it like
video
that.
standpoint.
So like, say like, think of like a fitness, like one of the girls that I like, I really don't like a lot of fitness people on Instagram just because they're super fake. But there's this one girl I really like. And she'll post like her shoulder day. And instead of posting one long video that you have to watch the whole thing, she'll post the first exercise is shoulder press. Then you scroll to the next one, and then it's like flies, and then you scroll. So I only literally watch the first 5 seconds of her video and get the gist of it. And I think that's half of it, is not tricking people into having to watch your whole thing. Like, people don't want that. People do not want that. They want to be hooked in the first like 5 seconds, either with a title of what you're going to be working on. People don't like to blindly watch something.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing I was looking at when we did this call. I did like a screenshot to kind of share of like what you do. And what's really interesting is if I just look at your grid, I can tell, like, without even clicking on the video, it says like back work, working around the scapula, 3 simple ways to work the glutes. Like, I can just scroll through this if I was new to your account and know which one to choose.
Yeah.
Because they're titled, versus like if I go to mine, like I'm like, damn, I don't have titles on this.
So I don't think titles, like, I don't think you absolutely have to. I think as long as you can tell what's going on, I just think titles can help a little bit. No, I like your page. You have a lot of followers.
I need to pump the numbies up, pumping up the numbies. You know,
No, but I like this carousel of yours. Like, I think carousels are really good. I think just like some type of consistency. So like, if say somebody does post like I just think that the like Tuesday tip of the day or whatever, I think it's just a good way of keeping people thinking like consistent on what to post, but you don't have to be that organized. But I think sometimes it does help.
Here, let's do this before because I don't want to take up too much of your time. You've been like super cool about this.
I go on rants. I could talk forever.
I'm a talker as well. Let's do this. Go to my Instagram if you could, please. And if you had to like fix one thing, what would you fix? What would you give me a tidbit on?
Let's see.
And I'm just like narcissistically looking at mine.
I would like to know where you live, but so here's the thing. If I go to somebody's page and they don't have their location in the top 3 or like in their bio, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But as long as I click on a picture somewhat in the top and it's tagged. So this top picture that you have, it's Iowa's tagged. I'm like, okay, I'll give them a break.
Okay. Good point.
But it doesn't really matter because, like, do you really need more clients? Like, what is are you now trying to more expand on connecting massage therapists? Because if that is the case, you don't really need your location. Right. I just, for some reason, like to know where everybody is. I'm very nosy. I'm like, where is this person?
No, I think one of my goals is going to be I just really enjoy doing travel athlete work. That's been kind of, I just enjoy working with different types of athletes, and especially football. Like again, I live in Iowa. We don't have professional sports. And that was why I got into this industry, was to work with professional athletes. Yeah. And so when I moved back to Iowa, I still did it, but just at such a lesser volume. So that's kind of been my goal, is that. But also I think during COVID, you think so much about your career. And then like, I'm kind of the same space you are, in the sense that I want to help other therapists, because I talk to people who are quitting, on the verge of quitting, or they tell me like how much money they're making, and they're having to work 2-3 jobs. So they're never able to fully be a massage therapist because they can't figure out how to make a full-time living being a massage therapist.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And that's where I think like you do a fantastic job, because sometimes like, yeah, we could use a few more clients or quality clients, right? Like I hate Google stuff. I get the like not matched well clients through Google, but Instagram, I get such like perfectly paired with people.
Yeah. I'm just stalking your Instagram because I'm trying to find something useful to tell you. But everything looks really good. And that's the thing. If you do want to start attracting more athletes, just put yourself in their position. Like, what would they want to see? What would benefit them? Like, they always need to work on their hips. They always need to work on, So I have one. I have a tip. So this one.
Yep, where I'm working on a shoulder. Okay.
Yeah. So see how when you're scrolling on your feed, you won't see that you wrote something because you wrote it so far down. You wrote it way down here.
Let me see.
So
yeah, it's the positioning of the title.
Yeah. So in the feed, it has to be within this. I think it's like, I just calculated or I just saw the dimension somewhere. It's like a specific, it's annoying because most people are just going to look at it while they're scrolling in their feed. They're not going to click on this to get the whole thing. That's been the main thing I've been seeing on people is they cut off the writing.
Gotcha. That's a great point. Okay.
But if that's the biggest thing I'm telling you, your page is great.
Well, thank you.
I'm like trying to find something.
No, I enjoy playing with it. It's like, it's again, like, I think you're like me. I like creating content.
Yeah.
I enjoy writing. And I think the more that you and I write, think, and even stuff like this, converse about this space, it makes it more exciting to do the work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Versus the days I'm like, man, I did 5 clients yesterday. I have to go do the same thing today. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I hate that. I've had those days, but the more I stay engaged and excited about something within this space that's interesting, like what you're doing, it's super fun.
I think at first too, I just like wanted to keep everything for myself. Like I was like, I don't want to share. I don't even want to repost people's stuff because they were going to like their page better than mine. And finally I was like working on my mindset and like scarcity, that whole thing, like working on that, like has really helped me and realize like me and Manny did a live on Instagram and we both gained a lot because I was in front of his audience. He's in front of mine. Like same with you and I, there people think that like, there's so many people on Instagram. There's no way to know every massage therapist on there. And so it's like, you already have a ton of massage therapists following you that might not follow me and vice versa. So, collaborating a little bit, I think is where it's at and what I need to work on a little bit more. Cause I've always just been so me. So even when you reached out, I'm like, where am I going to fit this in? I could fit it in. I got my nails done today. I got a massage, but normally I'm just like, no, like, and so now I'm like, okay, start collaborating more. And that's what other new massage therapists, like start being friends with each other. You guys, like I've gotten people in New York clients because they see my account. They might not find that person's. And so it's like, as long as I know where people are, I get all the time, do you know somebody in LA or do you know somebody here? And I sent this one guy in LA, like 10 people, and he sent me an Amazon gift card. He's like, thank you. I'm like, no worries. Like, I can't work on him. I'm not going to afford him. Like,
what I find though, because I get that same kind of scarcity sometimes too. Like, as we all want to be our best, you're like, man. And then you like, sometimes if I ever get really good body work, it kind of creates an excitement and then an insecurity. I'm like, oof. But every time, you're right. But then every time I kind of go out and like just be like, don't have an agenda necessarily and just kind of go out and share a little bit more, it does kind of make you like your confidence boost up, because I think sometimes when you hoard, like whether it's attention or information, it creates a weird insecurity in and of itself. So the faster I can just like throw that out there, I feel like it kind of boosts my confidence a little bit, because I know I'm not too scared to share it.
And people can see that too. Like people know that I'm not like, I'm always sharing other people's posts, and I would probably be nervous to work on you though.
Oh, stop.
I get nervous. I used to get really nervous with like chiropractors and stuff. Now I don't care, but other massage therapists that I know are good. And it's funny how you can tell if somebody's good just through their videos. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Totally
You know,
can.
it's funny. I had this, like, that's funny because like sometimes I have, like, if I get real nervous like that, I create this facade in my head of like, this is gonna sound really weird. I'll just be like, you know what? Fuck them. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna crush this. Like, I just kind of like, I talk shit to myself. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm like, because I'm terribly nervous of like, what if this sucks? Especially when you respect somebody. Like, I think one of my things is like, I would hate for somebody to be like, that you respect and you kind of look up to look at you online and be like, I just imagine they're like looking at my stuff being like, you're a joke, you're spending your time on the wrong stuff, you suck. And in my head, I just like trash talk it, like, you know what, fuck them, they don't pay my bills and I gotta do this. Like, I have to get in that weird mind space
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's really hard sometimes. Or when people comment on my thing, like I posted working on the subclavius, and like my mentor taught me, because he's all about like the fascial lines. He's not,
Right.
I don't care what muscle you're on. So I'm under the clavicle. I'm probably on mostly the subclavius. I might be on some other stuff. And he would have me turn my head away. And so I took that with it, and like it helped me. And my clients like totally feel it. Like if you get like super right under the collarbone. And this guy commented and was like, cervical rotation is not an action of the subclavius. I'm like, A, I never said it was. And B, shut up. And
Yeah.
C, try it. And if your clients don't like it, don't do it. Like, so sometimes I get a little defensive on my like posts and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I used to get super nervous working on people, especially, I mean, I recently worked on a professional athlete, and I was going to his house and I was like I still get nervous. And you know what
Yeah.
else comes from Instagram that sucks? Sometimes I'm like, so because people will come, they'll be visiting San Diego. San Diego's a great place. So I've worked on a ton of massage therapists from all over the country. And they're like, I've been so excited. And I'm like, what if my videos are just good? What if I just make it look good and the fun sped up and the music? Like, what if I'm trash? Like, I often still think that.
So
So
because I'm with you on that. How do you get over that? Because I've been doing this for 15 years and I still can get in that space. How do you shake that?
I think honestly, the more I learned about imposter syndrome and how most successful, legit people feel this way, it made me feel better. I just watched a documentary about Steve Madden and the shoe
Yeah.
guy. And like, I loved it. He was like, I still think, like, I just need to keep working hard. Like, he's so successful and he even feels that way. So once I started reading more and more about how a lot of successful people feel that way, and like, if you are feeling that way, that probably means you're not a fraud. That made me feel a little bit better. But I just kind of became okay with being nervous, I guess. And like,
Yeah.
and then just being like, if they keep re-signing up with me, they must be getting some benefit,
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
that's kind of interesting that you've been doing it 15 years and you still feel that way.
You know, it's funny. I had a mentor and he was like, you know, again, he was working with tons of athletes. Probably one of, I mean, he was banking it too. Like, I knew he charged per day. I mean, he was banking it. He told me, he was like, one day he was like, Ryan, some days I'll work on somebody and be like, I don't know why anybody would ever pay me money to do this. Like, you get in that, like, that quick trigger in your head. Like, you hit that kind of emotional soft spot. And I think it's one of the hardest things to get over with this, because there's a piece of what we do, no matter how science and data driven you are, there is a piece to this that is subjective on the client. It's their perception of value that it's out of my control. So like, one thing I've been trying to work on is like, is this in my control or out of my control? And the things that, like, there's certain parts of their perception of me. Like, for instance, like, I just thought, like, as we're talking, like, I try not to swear, but I do terribly. Like, some people are not going to like that. And it can make me go, oh no. But it's at the same time, it's like, it is what it is. Like,
Yeah, if they don't feel comfortable with
it is what
that,
it is.
and like, it might make some people feel more comfortable. So I think the more you're just yourself, it attracts people,
Like,
that.
like attracts like. Can't say it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna come see you sometime, because San Diego's a real hotbed, a real mecca for jiu-jitsu. You guys have.
Yeah,
I've
there's
never
a
been.
lot.
I've never been to San Diego, but you guys have. I mean, I can name 4 or 5 gyms that are just epic right there
I
in
just
San
started
Diego.
working on a girl. She's from Hawaii, but she's been living here for 10 years and she's a fighter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot here. This is like the best for a lot, honestly, a lot of sports and a lot of like active.
I'm such an idiot. I just realized this. I have a fighter who's in San Diego. I
Oh,
know a
really?
guy who fights. He's an Iowa guy, but he fights out of San Diego.
Oh,
Like,
really?
that's where he trains at. Yeah, because there's a, I'm not going to try to butcher it, but there's a few fight gyms that are really well known in San Diego where a lot of guys train. I didn't even think about that. I'll have to tell them.
Yeah, there's like a lot of football training facilities here. And have you ever been to San Diego?
Never been.
You should
Now,
come.
have you ever been to Iowa?
I have never.
See?
I don't even know if I could point out Iowa on a map. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's right. Yeah, it's right down in the middle. It's about to get real cold here, which is gonna, you're gonna find out who's tough and not, but it's about to get real cold.
Can
So
I
that's
ask you a
fun.
question about your pricing?
Yeah, please.
How much did with somewhere like that, like do you have to adjust your prices to match, or do you just charge, what do you charge?
I stayed at $85 for way too long because I was afraid of $100. And I honestly should, like, right now I'm at 100, 100, 145 for an hour and a half and 190 for 2 hours. And if I had to go, I think pretty soon I'll eventually adjust it again.
See, those are my prices right now.
Yeah.
And I'm in San Diego where I know I haven't changed my prices in 2 years.
Yeah, you probably
But
could bump yours up.
I'm always wondering what other people charge. But yeah, some places you would think that it would be cheaper, but they're not. So
Well, my thing is like location matters, but at the same time, if like the amount of money I put into this career, like traveling out of Iowa to take courses, to bring information back, at some point, if I don't get the excitement, like there's not an equal payout, it's
yeah,
not fun. It's not a fun job to have. Like if I have to go, well, I'm not like, it's this idea of like, I'm in Iowa, so I have to like just be this. It's like, well, no, if I want to be the world's greatest sports therapist,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to adjust my pricing. So I actually picked 85 because when I lived in Atlanta, that's what they charge. That same place now charges like 120, 130 or something per hour.
So when you first started 15 years ago,
yes,
what did you
is
charge?
85. And I just changed my prices for the first time. So right before COVID, I thought it was gonna be 2 weeks and that was it. Right before COVID, I adjusted my prices. And then when COVID hit, I was like, can I really adjust my prices? I mean, this is like, it's weird times. And I went, I have to. Otherwise, if I don't do it, I just won't do it. So yeah, that's what I charged for it. And again, it was so dumb easy. I never had a single pushback with it. Nobody even blinked an eye. And I was like, oh, I threw a lot of money down for, I mean, I should have probably adjusted that at least 3 to 4 years ago.
And you think of how much, yeah. I don't know why I'm still weird about raising it on current clients. It's almost like I want to test it out on new clients to go up to like 120 or something. But then people are like, you're going to make the jump from 100 to 120. I'm like, what am I going to do? Go to 110? That's stupid.
Well, I have a friend. Has a few businesses. He's just smarter, more successful. And he's like just ahead of me in life. And I said, hey, do I just charge maybe new clients? And he was like, no. He's like, just do it. He's like, rip the Band-Aid off, do it for everybody. He's like, now if you like, I think one person that I give a deal to at this point, one person out of any of my clients. And that person's just been there since like once I started doing work back in Iowa. They've been with me almost since like day one. And that's the only person I've discounted.
Yeah. I like give people advice, and then I'm still weird about like changing my clients that have only seen me a few times. I don't care, but it's like ones that have seen me like twice a month for the past 2 years. I'm like, oh, but
you know what I found though?
As much as we think they do.
No.
They're like, oh, an extra 20 or an extra 10, whatever it is, like whatever.
Well, what I found out that those people who really are like your diehards, they are happy to pay it because they actually, part of it's like they enjoy your work, but the other part is they also want to see you win. Like they want you to do well. And so they're happier to pay that bump up within a reason. So that's one thing I look back and go like, oh yeah, this is going to be easier than I thought. I honestly wish I would have done it way earlier. And now I tell therapists like, well, I just start, I go, listen, get some feedback on your hands. So your hands are like, there's nothing really like egregious with your hands. Like just a few mistakes I see people make that can make it feel very amateur. It's very simple to fix. I go, fix those little like amateur things, and then quickly do not start whatever you're going to charge. Just start higher, because then you immediately out of the gate have to you can work, like you're going to work on less people anyways when you start. You're just going to. So if you're going to work on less, may as well make a little more coin so you can actually survive this game to play it again next year.
Yeah. I jumped from 75 to 100 because one of my clients was like, I was so excited to come see you, and then I saw how much you charged, and I honestly didn't think you were going to be good. And I was like, oh yeah. And I went into my thing and I went boop, boop, boop the next day. And immediately I started noticing clients that were rebooking more. They weren't just looking for a like, oh, it's only this much. Like even just that 75 to 100, like it attracts different types of people, and it attracts the people that I like more. So I feel like I need to raise mine soon, but so I'll stay on top of you. You stay on top of me about that.
Well, another thing I did that's been a real gem for me is I have it because do you have a massage book right now? So do I. So I had a problem where like my prime time, like if I had a slot that's always going to get booked, it's 4 o'clock on a Friday, like 4 to 5 or 3 to 4, it's always going to get booked. And I had people canceling on it because it's Friday. And it's like, oh, man.
Like that was a good spot.
And I'm terrible. I'm terrible at being like, hey, you've canceled me twice. You have to you owe me money. I've honestly never done it. It makes me feel too weird.
Me too.
But one thing I do is I create a rule that if you're a first time client booking, you have to prepay. And if you know, show me. Yeah. And if you know, show me, I am keeping that money.
It's been a game changer because it locks them in and they don't flake because they already paid. And B, I feel like even because I was manually booking people during the pandemic, and then I finally redid my online booking, and I get so many new clients every week because I think they just don't want to call. They don't want to talk to you. They just want to be able to book, and they paid. And like, they've never once have I had a flake now that I've done the prepay. And after they prepay the first time, I don't make them. And I'm bad about a cancellation policy too, because my people are pretty good about it. But yeah, that's a good way.
I'm too much of a softie for the cancellation policy. Like, if you say anything like, well, my kids or whatever, I'm just like,
because half the time it's something happened. Like,
stuff happens.
What are you going to do? Like you got a flat tire. How dare you pay me?
I know. But again, like the amount of like people I've had not cancel or not no show because they've prepaid. It
was always my first time.
Saved me so much money.
It's always been it's never, I have a few clients here and there. Well, I'll text them 2 days before, like, oh, you're still good? Because I don't care if you're not, because it's probably going to get taken. I don't care who shows up. Like, I just want it to be filled. But it was always first time clients, I think, because they just haven't met you yet. They don't really care if they flake on you and never see you again. So once I changed the first time client thing, I've had so much success. So.
All right, let me ask you my last question. I'll just keep talking to you.
I know. How have we been talking?
I realize. Oh crap! I gotta get going. I don't have to get going. But I want to be respectful of your time. How much? Like, if somebody's starting, I was thinking about this. The ratio of like, do you try to keep your overhead really tight, or like, how does that work? Like for me, like my overhead is under $1,500. So I keep my overhead like real slim. Do you try to keep your overhead tight so you have to work less, or you really try to stack out clients? I mean, what do you think about that?
Mine's way less than that even. I mean, my rent is $750, which is very good for San Diego, but I only have one little room. I don't have like a full-on studio, which I would love to get. And then buying sheets and, like massage cream. And I used to do all my laundry my own. That was the first thing that I started, like, I don't care if it's an extra $100 a month. Like that's one client. Like when you think about it like that, it's like, dude,
I have to do that.
So I have gotten better. My brother-in-law is very successful and he gives me like all my money advice. And he's like, if that is going to take you 5 hours, is that really worth $30?
Right.
Like it cost me $30 to drop off like 17 sets of sheets and get them picked up, clean, folded, everything. Like that's so cheap. That's crazy. Yeah. Like when you think about it, so I'm getting better about like even hiring a virtual assistant to help me with stuff. But for the longest time, I try to do everything, keep it super cheap. But I mean, my overhead is pretty it's not that high anyways.
Yeah, mine used to be higher. Mine used to be like closer to 2,200.
Because of what mainly?
I just got too big of, I just had too much, I just got too much space.
Was that
Just had too much
just for
space.
your rent?
I know my rent was 17. Then I kicked it down to 1,000. My rent used to be 1,700. And then I
Yeah.
chopped. Then once COVID hit,
And that's just for you. You can't rent out any of the other spot like
I
spaces.
could. I'm so greedy in my time. Like I have an extra room somebody could come work in. I just have no desire because I'm, again, like right now, I don't want to have to, like when people are here, I feel like, especially if they're younger, I'd want to help them out, right? I'd want to mentor a little bit. And right now, I'm too greedy with my time. If I'm not here working on somebody, I want to be doing the things I want or with my family.
Yeah.
You know, my kids are at that age where I'm just, once they get a little older and they don't want to hang out with dad anymore, then I'll be more excited to have other people involved. But right now, I just had to make that decision that I just don't care. I just don't want to. It's not worth it.
I was thinking about renting out my room just 2 or 3 days a week, but I was like, do I even want somebody else in my space? Yeah, and like, what if I want to go in there to work on something, if it's loud at my house or something? Like, I don't want to have to, but so yeah, no, my overhead is pretty small. But I'm excited about your Facebook group. I'll definitely share it with people. So just so I can know, what is your like goal with it?
My goal with it is to get people kind of like right now, even in this work I do, and the therapists I'm around, I'm in little echo chambers, right? I get in like my little groove of, you take systems or you take practices, and I learn so much from people who are outside of the groove that I'm in. And so for me, it's, like right now, selfishly, I learned a ton from Instagram, just from knowing you. I can learn a ton from that, which has been a huge impact for my business. So I would like to get a lot more conversations starting up. So that way, I think it really sucks the idea of, this career doesn't get a lot of respect for one. When people come in, they come in kind of like they're either flaky or they come in at different stages of life. And a lot of people I don't think you and I realize how many people do not make a living doing this. And that to me is just criminal. And I'd love to just not let that be it, because the more massage therapists who get more credibility and do better, it looks better on me and you. Like, that's what I want more, is just more credible therapists. And I think to do so, again, I was telling you, my friend Ryan has this amazing Facebook group for videographers, and I'm in the group to understand how he's doing it. The high level questions, conversations that are being had on a daily basis is astronomical, more so than any massage Facebook group I've been in. So I just kind of want to groove into it a little bit more.
So how does a Facebook group even work with somebody of his size, like 90,000? Is it just chaos, or like, does he start the conversation, or how does it work?
Right now, it's to the point where I think in the beginning, he had to start some of the conversation. And then now to the point, or he's got admin and everything. It's just organic conversations happening. Somebody might say, hey, I'm doing my first wedding. How many SD cards do I need to bring? That's almost a low level question.
So then somebody else could.
Somebody's like, hey, make sure you have this, this, and this. Or a great question I heard, I just shot for a client. It's been 3 years. They want all the pictures, all the data I shot. They want me to just hand it over, and they want full ownership. Do I charge them? And somebody's like, yes, you charge 70% of, people are giving like really schooled, like really good advice. And I thought, massage therapists, especially more on the sports massage, and I hate the word sports massage. It's just people who want to work on actual injuries and issues. I just don't see a space that I hear a lot of conversation going on.
Yeah.
So, and I also want to be part of a bigger collective of massage therapists. And I just don't like when sometimes things can get just a little too, like the ones I'm in, there's always an older person, kind of just haters a little bit, right? They just get a little more like, well, back in my day, kind of like, they're just kind of pretentious. I just can't stand when somebody's asked an honest question and you come back with a pretentious answer. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So I just thought it'd be quite cool.
That'll be really good. And
yeah,
when I first started my Patreon, I kept thinking like, oh, I need to hurry up and post a lot. You might like this guy. His name is Graham Cochran. If you've never heard of him. I love
Graham Cochran.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
So he emphasizes, he's like, instead of thinking you need to constantly be posting, he's like, you need to create a community. That's what people pay for. People won't cancel that's what I go back and forth on too, is like how much to charge a month for the membership. Cause I'm like, I want to keep it reasonable. but at the same time, I am putting a lot of work in it. But if I can make it into more of a community where
Yeah.
you guys all talk to each other, so that's something that I've been thinking about. So that's really good, is the community part is what people want to be a part of. And a lot of these people, like, I was lucky I had a friend that was a massage therapist, but if you don't, like, who do you even ask for advice? Like, this client texted me this, is this weird? Should I still work on him or not? Like, so that's really cool. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to work Facebook. I've never had one, but
Yeah,
I'll try to sign up for a year.
I'm all new to it too. So, but yeah, and I think like I had a really great mentorship when I started. Like without it, I would have been light years behind where I was very quickly, just because somebody held gave me a true apprenticeship basically. And for massage therapists, there's not a lot of apprenticeship. So I'm like,
No.
we gotta make this better. So that's kind of that's my mission.
So are you gonna like charge for the Facebook group, or what are you gonna do?
No,
You're just gonna have it free?
I'll create a course of it. Like eventually I'll create a course and I'll charge for that
branch out
eventually.
from that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna let it just kind of organically grow.
That's the thing too, is people need to realize you need to give away like 80% for free.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a waste of time. Just keep giving, and then you can finally ask at the end
and give good stuff away for free too, right?
Exactly.
Not just like low level, like superficial crud, like good stuff.
Like Graham, I've learned so much from him and I haven't paid him $1, but I tell everybody to listen to him, and somebody else might go buy one of his courses. You never know.
Absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, anyways, I'm going to shut this down for a second. Hang on. I want to make sure this saves.